Hello and welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV, where we last time reached Sharlayan in the beginning of Endwalker. And let's see what's going on, huh? Asinian. I'm unaccustomed to fabricating lies on demand. Why should it matter how I earn my living? Here we are at last, the great city of Sharlayan. You may have noticed some similarities with the Crystarium, yes? In fact, Oh, but we really should let Krile ever say first. We can continue this conversation at another time. You're doubtless eager to take in the sights. Not to worry, Desiree. The city is not like to vanish before we finish our discussion. Even allowing that the years I spent in the first passed here in the blink of an eye, the city feels untouched in time. Allow me to extend unto thee my warmest welcome, Desiree. May the wisdom of my homeland aid us in our endeavors. I'm fine, honestly. Better be waved through with a stern warning than be night entry after all. That was about as awkward as expected. Still, we're here now, and that's all that matters. I'm glad I spotted your ship coming into port. The officers are born bureaucrats and sticklers for detail. In any case, you may relax and take a moment to get your land legs back. Old Sharlayan, new to you. I had thought to launch directly into an explanation of what I've learned and how we might proceed. But this is Desiree and Estinian's first time in Sharlayan, and for the rest of you, a homecoming that was long overdue. You must have places you wish to visit, and people you're dying to see. Therefore, I propose we postpone our agenda so that you may have sufficient time to recover from your journey and get your bearings in the city. Once you've settled in, we can reconvene at the Bardessian Annex. How does that sound? 'Tis a fine suggestion. We may not be welcome at the Leveilleur estate as such, but would like to nose around the neighborhood all the same. I'm equally untethered, as it were. There's no particular place that my kin call home. Still, I would not pass up the opportunity to reacquaint myself with the city. Likewise, a quick tour of our old haunts might even yield some useful gossip. The annex was the rest of the Everett Plaza, wasn't it? I should join you there anon. Yes, we'll see you there. I too have placed. I would be remiss in not visiting forthwith. By thy leave. Bye. What of you, Estinian? My services as a guide are yours for the asking. That won't be necessary. Until we reconvene, I prefer to wander as the wind takes me. But I could... Well, would you like to join us then? You've been gone for quite a while, and this would be the perfect way to refresh those dusty old memories of yours. Of course, if you will have me. Come this way. Sharlayan awaits. Oh dear, his enthusiasm is infectious, isn't it? After you, my friend. I'm more than content to follow your lead. Guahatia is now accompanying you. Keep him at your side in order to proceed with quest objectives. In the event you use the Ethernet, Grahatia will catch up to you as long as you remain in the same area. You can leave Grahatia behind, however, by entering a different area. You may also speak to him and select the option to part ways. If you wish to have Grahatia accompany you again, return and speak with him at the original location. While Grahatia is accompanying you, next try speaking with Krile. Do not forget Mrs. Krile, our worthy guide. All set? But let us be on our way. Our first stop, amusingly enough, will be the Last Stand. It's a cafe on the west side of the harbor. Krile is also now accompanying you. Lead your two companions to the Last Stand and speak with Krile at the designated location. While you're accompanied, you may encounter conversation points along the way, which offer additional topics of discussion. Enter the glowing area and speak with your quest companions to initiate these bonus conversations. Enjoy exploring your surroundings together. So yeah, this is a new mechanic in Endwalker. Companions. And these conversation points are marked on the map by these speech bubbles. I'm grateful to have Krile's help in reacquainting myself with this place. It's almost as if I'm seeing all of this with new eyes, as you are. With all the unusual wares coming and going at all hours, I expect the assistance of an intrepid adventurer would be highly appreciated. I see no reason why you couldn't undertake any task which piqued your interest. You've been cleared by the immigration officials, after all. I look forward to the day your name is celebrated in Sharlayan, the same it is in Eorzea. Come on, let's head to the cafe. May not seem so at a glance, but the Lastin is actually a very important part of the city. This place is called the Paris Style, and it's the first stop for cargo unloaded at the docks. You'll find the usual necessities for daily living and other imports vital to running an island nation, but also supplies that further Sharlayan's pursuit of knowledge, namely large quantities of books, a specimen and samples. Sorting these stacks certainly seems to keep the attendants busy. Yeah, and these are later you have labor quests for crafters and gatherers here, also the hunting board. Once it is unlocked. Now that is a sight one could hardly forget, the great statue of Faliak. As a student of Baldessian, I was usually quartered on the Isle of Val, but I would gaze upon the scholar's wise features every time I returned by ship to the city. Over there. The path leading out toward the sea is known as the Faliak Stoa, so named for a statue of a scholar which stands at its end. As you know, the Sharlayan people prize the accumulation of wisdom above all else. Thus, when Faliak was chosen as our patron deity, it was more a matter of pragmatism and belief, an alignment of principles as it were. We may have honored him with a rather impressive sculpture, yes, but our faith is not so restrictive as that of, say, the Ashgardians. Individual Sharlayans can and do worship the divinities of their choosing. And there we are, the Last Stand. I may have mentioned this before, but although our research into nutrition and food preparation is quite extensive, the average Sharlayan tends to regard seasoning and flavor with a certain indifference. How can I put this? The food is, it's bland. as encapsulated by our infamous Archon loaf, the prevailing sentiment towards cuisine is dietary value first and taste a distant second. There was one pupil at the studium, however, who could stomach the school's insipid meals no longer, so he quit his lessons and poured all his savings into building a proper eatery. And so the last stand came to be. It is, as the name implies, the sole dedicated outpost of fine dining in Sharlayan, the one and only bastion of a culinary arts in an isle of otherwise mediocre fare. I seem to recall the burger being hailed as one of the more impressive items on the menu, not that I ever have the pleasure of eating one myself. Because you were a typical Sharlayan when it came to cheap and convenient, Raha. But surely Tataru has since taught you how to appreciate a well-prepared dish. We should all stop in when time permits and sample the cafe's delights. Shall we press on? The stairs to the side of the cafe there will take us up to the Airferrite Plaza. Also probably could take these ones. An unusual shape, isn't it? I assure you, however, that it's a perfectly functioning Airferrite. Remember to attune yourself before you move on. Now, being the diligent tour guide that I am, I should make mention of a confluence, a research facility located on this very plaza. Its much wanted discoveries are the reason Sharlayan stands at the forefront of teleportation technology. In deciphering the underlying principles of Allagan Airferrites, it allowed us to understand and reconstruct what was essentially a lost art. And off we go to our next destination. Our path leads northeast to the Agora, Sharlayan's largest marketplace. But first, a bit west. Speaking of Airferrites, those teleportation fees do add up after a while, which is why I tended to rely on the far cheaper ferry services. I was pleasantly surprised when Mr. Tataru informed me that the Scions are reimbursed for teleportation costs as part of our duties, but I find old habits hard to break. That, and I'd rather not be bothered filling out the necessary paperwork. Oh, the markets. I always did look forward to seeing what new wares they had to offer. Yes, I've attuned myself to the Airferrite. That's the entrance to the confluence behind me. I have no doubt that their expertise will prove useful at some point, so I suggest you remember the way here. That is that building straight ahead. Bookstalls. Do you mind if I browse the shelves for a moment? There might be some hidden gems I've yet to read. Only a moment? How optimistic. Feel free to browse all you like, but we won't wait around for you. Perhaps I'll return you later then. These little open-air bookstores are so uniquely Sharlayan. I'd always thought them a common sight when I visited other nations. Welcome to the Agora, where you can find wares made in Sharlayan as well as a wide selection of imported goods. They also used to sell questionable prototypes from various research institutes, but I think that practice has thankfully died out, for the most part. Otherwise, I can think of no better place to stock up for your next big adventure. Am I overselling it? On a more serious note, the next stop on our tour is one which has particular relevance to our ultimate purpose here. We must head back to the Everett Plaza, follow the path north, then climb the stairs up to that imposing building at the very top. It is a fascinating experience to walk around the city and contrast my image of the past with the reality of the present. The building we're looking for sits at the top of the stairs to the north of the Everett. Just keep walking up and you'll reach it eventually. The district we're passing through is called Archon's Design, a name which honors the 7 individuals whose contributions were instrumental in the founding of Sharlayan. It is the city's political and financial center, and it also hosts a collection of research institutes. This is the Nymphaeum, an area dedicated to the blessings of water. For Sharlayans, water represents more than a life-sustaining liquid. It's a reminder of a great flood which precipitated the birth of our nation, as well as a symbol of the knowledge which flows from Thaliak's divine Ewer. This is the reason you see an abundance of fountains throughout the city and a propensity for utilizing water as a decorative feature in our architecture. These little decorative features are typical of Sharlayan architecture. Aside from research rings, our headquarters on the Isle of Val are rather simple and rustique by comparison. Okay, they like water. What was a town in Final Fantasy IX called? The hidden one with the water and the books? Taguero? Is that the inspiration here? This grand structure before you is the Rostra. The name refers to the original public platform erected here, upon which a forum of elected representatives would deliver orations and debate policy. Although the stage has since evolved into council chambers, the nature of a forum and the duties of its members remain largely unchanged. Am I boring you, Raha? You seem awfully distracted. My apologies. From here, one can see the entire city spread out below. The vista put me in mind of my arrival in the first. Those who had gathered at the Crystal Tower asked me how they might go about building a new home. Naturally, my answers were all inspired by my knowledge of the finest settlement I could think of, the great city of Sharlayan. And bit by bit, those few buildings grew into a town, a community, the Crystarium. I can almost see its echo. I see. Feel free to come up here whenever you wish. I don't think the councillors would object to you simply enjoying the view. Such memories should be treasured. For now, however, the tour must go on. Our spectacle of sightseeing concludes with a fittingly named Journey's End. Walk down the stairs to the east and continue straight ahead. Can I first get the Ethernet chart? We arrived at Journey's End. History tells us that this is where those who put ashore with Archon Nunkramph built their first homes. In the present day, it serves as a residential district for the most important officials and the oldest Sharlayan families. You'll see that one mansion is clearly larger than its neighbors. That estate belongs to our friends from House Levelier. All things considered, we should probably keep our distance for the time being. And with that, we bring our little Sharlayan tour to a close. I hope it has proven to be an entertaining and enlightening experience. Now, shall we head directly to a Bardessian annex? You remember the way, don't you, Raya? Let me think. We head down toward the harbor, cross the bridge to our right, and then follow the path below the Airfoil Plaza? Correct. After you, Desiree. Yeah, that huge building up there is House Levelier. Right, we cross the bridge here, as I recall. Stick to the path and be careful not to end up back at the Airfoil Plaza. Sharlayan is full of educational and research institutions, but there are still professors who prefer to establish their own private practices. Not that I ever attended the exclusive schools they run in these residences. Perhaps the twins could tell you more about them? Ah, the good old annex. I used to bunk there whenever I had a business in the city proper. Like the time I came to submit the thesis for my Archon qualification. Have I tired you out with all the walking? Not to worry, I had rooms prepared for you at the annex. Just follow a path to the west side of the Airfoil and we'll be there in no time. So you say down here? Back up here. Or down there from the Airfoil. Ah, the joyous look on Ra's face has undoubtedly informed you this is the Bardessian Annex. If you continue up the hill, you arrive on the doorstep of Phenomenon, but I think we've explored enough for one day. We can take you there another time. Inside with you then. I'm back, and I've brought Desiree and Raha with me. Ah, you were right about the ship then. Hello, Raha. It's nice to see you again. And it's a pleasure to finally meet you, Desiree. I heard many a tale of your exploits. Ojika? Ojika Sonjika, it's been an age. Allow me to introduce Ojika, cousin of Ejika Sonjika and administration officer for the students of Bardessian. He oversees the day-to-day business of the annex. Yeah, we met Ejika Sonjika in the Eureka storyline. I read the reports on a Eureka expedition. I hope Ejika didn't cause you too much trouble. He's impatient and impetuous, but a good sort at heart. This place is like a second home for the students. The Isle of Val served as our main headquarters, of course, but we often had occasion to visit Sharlayan. Whether to make use of the city's research facilities, attend conferences, or procure supplies from distant shores. And the NXT was built to provide lodgings for our members while engaged in such activities. Now that our former headquarters is on the wrong side of the world, amongst other things, the Annex has become our new base of operations for all intents and purposes. And yet it feels so empty. With so many lost to us, our organization is a shell of its former self. The day will come when we'll see the students rise again. But first, we must ensure that the Telophoroi fall. Through that door on the left, there's a main hall where we can discuss our options moving forward. Once everyone arrives, that is, you probably have time to rest before our discussion begins in earnest. I had private quarters prepared for you in the Andron, so please, feel free to make yourself at home. Ah, the nap rooms, perfect for an afternoon dose. Nap rooms? Oh, I didn't mean to give you the wrong impression. The chambers are quite well appointed, far more so than some cheap roadside inn, you may be assured. It was simply that we were often so busy with research, or exhausted from journeys abroad, that we would slip into the Andron just to steal a few winks. And thus they became known amongst the students as nap rooms, even if many such naps might last well into the following morning. Say the word and I'll be happy to show you to your chamber. Hopefully the others won't be too long in coming. I will show you all in the main hall. Do you have papers pasted to the walls of your room? It was not unusual for occupants to pin up notes or documents and such and forget to take them when they went on their merry way. Sometimes it's quite deliberate though. You might see complaints addressed to other members or a thank you card for the engrossing literature someone left behind. Beloved traditions that I would know better than to dwell upon. If we are to create a future for the students of Baldesion and so many others, we must look to the days ahead. Retire to your room. As I said, stuff all over the walls. Anyway. Feeling refreshed and alert? Our colleagues should be wandering in soon, so I suggest we stay here and wait for them to join us.
Pray forgive me. I was delayed.
It's fine, Urianger. We're all here now.
Let's get down to business then, shall we? Come what may, we must prevent the Telophoroi's plans from coming to fruition. At present, I see two paths for gathering the information which may aid us in achieving that goal.
Let's hear it.
The first involves an investigation into the change which has come over Sharlayan, not to mention the recent inscrutable behavior of the Forum. As most of you know, the 99 members of the Forum are elected from the general populace. This alone guarantees a plethora of opinion with regards to foreign policy. The bibliotheques, for example, are a group of conservatives which would have Sharlayan focus on recording history, while remaining entirely uninvolved in the making of it.
Which is utter nonsense, because you can't be not involved in history, in things that happen. Your sheer existence causes you to be part of it.
And at the other extreme, we have advocates for proactive diplomacy and direct intervention. My grandfather Galef was one such member, as was Archon Louisois. Yet despite our diverse factions and philosophies, the recent vote to deny Eorzea's request for assistance was unanimous. Even more concerning was the fact that many cited other, more pressing duties as justification for their recalcitrance.
Fortuno's refusal in Gridania had those same undertones. 'Twas as if, having stared unblinking into the face of impending doom, he had simply turned away to pursue something more important. But what could that possibly be?
A mystery indeed, and one which I ask for your help to solve. Our future may depend on it. As for our second potential path, it concerns a request made directly to the students of Baldessian. Our organization was founded primarily to study strange and unexplained phenomena the world over. Mysterious relics and ruins, arcane disturbances, and so forth. Compared to our more isolationist Sharlayan colleagues, we have strong connections overseas, namely with scholars and academics who share our passion for the unknown. The request in question comes from one such acquaintance, Nidana, an alchemist residing in distant Favner. Her missive describes the sudden appearance of a tower, and the subsequent summoning of what I can only assume is a lunar primal.
Alright.
In response to this threat, the Satrap of Radzat-Han, the individual who governs the city-state, has instructed the alchemists to find a means to deal with the spire.
The artisans of that land are heirs to an ancient tradition, one rather unlike that of their Uldan counterparts. 'Tis possible, nay, probable, that they have gleaned truths unattainable by Eorzea or her Far Eastern allies.
They do, in fact, appear to have a strategy in mind, though it will require further research. To that end, they have requested an introduction to a capable warrior shielded by the blessing of light.
So, me.
Assuming we divide our forces to pursue both of Kral's lines of inquiry, then having you join the group heading to Thavner would seem the obvious choice. But the investigation in Sharlayan is of vital importance as well. Equal, I think, to the Thavnerian one, given that the fate of the world may hinge on the results of both.
Yes, it is quite the quandary. Though it is a great imposition and an altogether too common one, our efforts would be more likely to succeed were you to lead the charge on both fronts.
Fine.
You are indeed our champion. As to which task to tackle first, we will defer to your decision. Let us next decide how everyone else might best be assigned. As for myself, I shall continue what I've begun in Sharlayan. I should also like to steal the services of an Archon or two.
And thereby gain access to a greater range of reading material. I will help with that.
Allow me to offer my assistance. I have some small amount of experience in the field of research.
Alice and I would also like to help, if you would have us.
Anything to understand even a fraction of what our father and the Forum might be thinking.
Of course! The more the merrier.
Right. The rest of us will make the journey to Thavner. Thoughts? Objections?
I passed through Thavner on my way to infiltrate the Empire, and though I'm not qualified to give a guided tour, I did gain a sense of where things lie.
I'll be happy to have you along then. So for this group, it will be you, me, and Urianger.
Give me a moment afterwards, and I'll supply you with all the details of Nadana's request. Consider this hall our rendezvous point once our respective tasks are complete. May our investigations prove fruitful.
All right. And here's the obligatory team split in the beginning of an expansion. But we will decide next time where we start. Until then, I'm Ace, and don't get lost.